Of all the great monuments of prehistory, few captivate the imagination quite like standing stone circles. They're found in many corners of the world, from Nabta Playa in Egypt to Stonehenge in southern England, and right here in the quiet fields and rolling hills of north-east Scotland. These ancient sites are visually stunning, awe-inspiring, and deeply mysterious. Who built them? Why were they built? What were they really for? In the lowlands of Aberdeenshire, we find a unique variation of these monuments, found nowhere else in the world, the Recumbent Stone Circle. There are over 70 of these extraordinary structures scattered across this small region of Scotland. Built by small farming communities in the Bronze Age, between roughly 4000 and 2500 BC, these circles reflect a remarkable level of planning, craftsmanship, and purpose. What makes them so unique? It's the massive recumbent stone, a huge horizontal slab deliberately laid on its side and wedged precisely between two tall upright flankers. To many visitors, it looks like an altar, but this recumbent setting was anything but random. The tallest stones are always the flankers. Opposite them, on the other side of the circle, you'll often find the smallest stone. Builders deliberately chose stones for their colour and shape, contrasting red and grey granite or using inlays of quartz to create powerful visual effects. The recumbent setting was nearly always aligned to the south or southwest, and the recumbent itself, weighing as much as 20 tons, was carefully levelled. Its top edge as flat and horizontal as a carpenter's bench. Some archaeologists have suggested that the recumbent and flankers form the image of a sealed doorway, a passage not for the living, but for the dead. Theories about their purpose have evolved dramatically over the centuries. In the 16th century, these were imagined as temples to ancient gods. By the 18th century, antiquarians believed they were druidic temples. In the 19th century, the focus shifted to burial sites, and in the 20th century, they became viewed as places of cremation and ancestral commemoration. Some researchers noticed how the recumbent and flankers seemed to frame distant hills. Here at Tomnavary, the alignment points toward Loch Nagar, 30 miles to the southwest. At Eslie, the Lesser, the view locks onto Clach na Ben. Were these sightlines intentional? Perhaps. But then again, Benachie, one of the region's most iconic hills, is not framed by any known circle. So, was it deliberate or just coincidence? One of the most fascinating ideas is known as the lunar hypothesis. Some scholars suggest that, like Stonehenge, recumbent circles may have been used to observe the moon, not the sun. In particular, their alignment could capture the rare and dramatic event called the lunar standstill, when the moon appears to rise and set in its most extreme positions, only once every 18.6 years. Over the course of 2 weeks, the moon shifts dramatically in height, hugging the horizon in ways only visible at northern latitudes. Supporting this theory, some stones feature round cup marks, perhaps symbolic representations of the moon. But not everyone is convinced. Recent archaeological thinking has shifted away from the moon and even the stars. Instead, many researchers now suggest that the circle's southwest alignment is much more likely to relate to the setting sun, particularly at significant times like the winter or summer solstice. More importantly, new discoveries challenge the idea that these were ever meant as astronomical observatories at all. The clue lies in what's not there anymore. Inside many stone circles we now know were once raised cairns, stone mounds that filled most of the circle's interior. Over time, these cairns were dismantled, often in the Middle Ages, their stones reused to build field dikes or roads. But at sites like Eslie the Lesser, the cairn remains, and it tells a fascinating story. These cairns were built as burial mounds, likely containing cremated remains. Some were built over the sites of earlier wooden funeral pyres, then covered in stone. In some cases, a central open space was preserved, allowing the cairn to be reused by future generations. Lonehead of Davio is one such example. But perhaps the most surprising discovery came at Tomnavary. There, archaeologists found that the cairn came first, not the standing stones. The builders strengthened the area where the recumbent would go, and only after completing the cairn did they raise the stone circle around it. This turns previous thinking on its head. It now seems the stone circle was not a venue for rituals or stargazing. It was a boundary, a seal, a memorial. The final piece to be placed was the recumbent stone, a heavy symbolic doorway, not into the heavens but into ancestral memory. From afar, these circles stood as monuments to permanence. In a time when people were beginning to settle the land, the stone circles declared, "This is the land of our ancestors. This is our land." And today, that connection endures. At places like the Cairnragh Mount, ashes of loved ones are quietly scattered, or interred behind the stones, linking present and past in a continuous thread of memory. These ancient circles may be silent, but they still speak. They remind us that what we leave behind says something not just about who we were, but about who we are. In July 2025, the Clan Strachan Charitable Trust acquired the lands of Eslie the Lesser, a scheduled ancient monument classified by Canmore as a Neolithic ring cairn, probably surrounded by a stone circle. Numerous archaeological excavations all but confirm that Eslie the Lesser is a large stone cist, or burial chamber, similar in origin to the Cairnragh Mount. Eslie the Lesser lies 580 metres east-south-east of Eslie Farmhouse and is gracefully nestled on 10.5 acres of gently sloping agricultural land that opens to the south-southwest. The tranquil setting offers visitors peaceful, sweeping views across the enchanting landscape of the Lower Deeside, with the distant silhouette of Clach na Ben on the horizon and the historic Eslie the Greater stone circle in the distance adding to the property's mystic, timeless and romantic charm. Of the 3 stone circles in this wee corner of Strachan parish, 2 are most certainly recumbent stone circles, these being Ninestane's stone circle and Eslie the Greater. Eslie the Lesser, on the other hand, is a ring cairn and stands out for its breathtaking views. Surrounded by rolling hills and open skies, it offers by far the most picturesque and serene setting, a perfect spot for those seeking both history, natural beauty, and an ancient connection to ancestors past. The inner ring cairn of Eslie the Lesser originally measured 8.5 metres in diameter. There is a large hollow 4.4 metres in diameter at its centre, probably caused in 1873 by archaeologist Robert Angus Smith, though he believed that it had already been disturbed. The outer stone circle originally measured 12.5 metres in diameter and has been reduced to 6 stones from a probable original total of 8 or 9. As it appears today, the internal cairn is set on a much larger flat-top mound, measuring about 17 metres across. At least the upper portion of this mound is probably of ancient construction, forming a platform beneath the stone circle, but the addition over the years of field-cleared stones has largely obscured its original size and shape. This internal cairn is rather more irregular in shape and transversely over a kerb of slabs and boulders. Eslie the Lesser is dated, according to Aberdeenshire Historic Environment records, with a 100% probability to 4000 to 2500 BC. As mentioned previously, this was during the Neolithic period, which is characterised by the beginning of human settlements. People learned to cultivate plants and domesticate animals for food, rather than rely solely on hunting and gathering.
As I get by yon brego day, and o'er yon hello broom, a lassie sang recht merrily, just as the sun gaed down. Its cairn amount is bleak and bare, and cold as Clach na Ben, and you can see the snarly there along the summer's end.